pull up, you see a black Hebrew with a white woman, and you got a problem now. Why? Tell me why. We're told, number one, that salvation comes to the Jew first, and then the Greek or the Gentile second. So even if you do consider her to be a Gentile, who's to say that she can't receive salvation? Now, when you start talking about scripture, and how people were classified back then, it was never by your skin color. Black did not mean you were automatically an African or Hamite, you know. We know that the Hebrews were black. We know Moses was black from when he put his hand in his, coat, took it out, it was white, put it back, blah, 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 yeah. So what I'm saying is that you were classified by the one you worship, by the ordinances or the laws you kept, by the language you spoke, and by the name of the house you came from. That was your kindred, that was your brethren, and that's how you were classified back then. It didn't matter how bright or how dark you were. That's how people recognized you. And so we have to understand that this whole thing about black here, meaning that you are African American, or known for the Hebrew brothers and sisters who believe that black automatically makes you a Hebrew, is completely false. Because Moshe married a black woman, and he was chastised by his Hebrew sister because she wasn't a Hebrew. So what's going on here? When you keep the commandments of the Creator, you keep His statutes, His laws, His ordinances, and you cross over, that's what makes you a Hebrew. You have a lot of people now saying that there's no such thing as a spiritual Hebrew, but apparently not so. Galatians 3:7 says that if you have faith, you are Abraham's seed. Take Ruth for instance. Ruth was a Moabite. The Moabites had got started by Lot and his two daughters, which means that they were incestuous. Ruth had incestuous blood flowing through her veins. But when Boaz proclaimed at the city gates that this was his wife now, she became a Hebrew. His creator, his Elohim, became her Elohim. She was grafted in too. And notice that after she became such, her record of becoming, of being a Moabite was never brought up again. What I'm saying is, in accordance to Jeremiah 31:31, there has to be a circumcision of heart, your inward part. Now, of course, you're not literally cutting your heart. So we know it's not a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing that's taking place here. One has to have the turnaround in their heart. That inward faith manifests your physical obedience. That's what makes you a Hebrew. But it takes place in a spiritual sense first. So technically, there is such thing as spiritual Hebrews. Because we know that the children of Abraham, the children of Israel, while they were physical descendants, they were rebellious as anything. They were rebellious in the desert. When we got to the promised land, they were rebellious there. During the time of Judges, they were rebellious. After the reign of Solomon, they became even more rebellious. The Messiah says that the Father can raise up these rocks to make for children of Israel. And again, Galatians 3:29 says, if you belong to the Messiah, you are Abraham's seed. And what's so interesting to note here is that Ruth, with her incestuous Moabite physical blood flowing through her, will end up becoming in the lineup of Obed, who had a son named Jesse, who had a son named David, also known as King David, one of the Creator's beloved. And what's so crazy is that the Messiah comes from this same lineage. So you mean to tell me that Yahshua had incestuous blood flowing through his body? Again, when you keep these ordinances, you have that circumcision of heart. And then you keep these commandments, you obey because of your faith. Without faith, if it's impossible to please Him. Then you cross over the word Eber. That's what makes you a Hebrew. Paul says in Romans chapter 9 verse 4, he answers who are the Israelites. And I recommend you go read it right now. And you tell me if they ain't Israelites in Africa just as well as they are in America and India, and quiet as it's kept even Europe. What we have to stop doing is saying who ain't what, who ain't this. Because dig it, we know that the messengers like Gabriel, who they are called angels, they come down and they have a job to do, okay? And we have a job to do. We are told to be called out and to be priests and a beacon of light for the Gentile nations. Now how can you do that if every time you speak to a Gentile, you're shoving it down their throat where they ain't, but they're not? Or you this, or you a Sodomite, you a Edomite. That ain't your job. Your job was to take the kingdom and give it to them. Help them walk in it. Not shove their face that they're not in it. Again, could you imagine one of the messengers coming down every time I did in scriptures, and instead of giving the words of Yahweh to Daniel or any other prophets, they always talk about, well, you're not an angel, you're not a being of light, you can't travel like we can, you can't appear glorious and splendid, you don't know what the heavens look like. Just do your job, bro. What the message is. Don't send my mailman talking about some, yeah, you don't work for UPS. Just give me my daggone package, bro. Your boss sent you here for that. So I'm saying, if you a Hebrew, bro, get it together. Instead of talking about what they ain't got, administer to them. Paul went and talked to the Greeks even after the Maccabean revolt. He went and still talked to the Greeks. Timothy was a Greek. Quite as it kept, he may have had Hebrew lineage in him, but he was raised and trained up as a Greek. So that's what he knew. He was more Hellenistic than anything. And Paul called him his own son. So if Paul can do this after Antiochus Epiphanes desecrated the temple in the Maccabean revolt, these Greeks who couldn't stand as Hebrews, surely you can get that hate out your heart, brother, black sister, and pull it together, bro, for the kingdom cause. Anything you want to say, cuz? Man, y'all tighten up, cuz.